back. We are on our very last set of notes for our chapter on ancient India. You guys have been doing such a great job really wrestling with those big concepts from Hinduism and Buddhism, and I'm so proud of you for that. In this last video notes, we're going to take a look at two empires, or an area of land, or many areas of land under just one ruler. And we'll see kind of how those ideas from Hinduism and Buddhism kind of came together, united, and were able to spread throughout the land. So make sure you've got your writing utensils, make sure you are taking note of all those things that I asked for you to write down, and keep tuned to the very end because by popular demand, Miss Tajik put in bloopers. Haha. So you get to see me making an idiot out of myself. It's great. It's just like every day in class. So much fun, guys. So make sure you pay attention and do that. And our big idea is that the Maurya and Gupta empires formed the first great Indian empires, and their cultures were the basis for many civilizations that followed, including the culture of India today. So hang tight, keep an eye out for those bloopers at the very end. So remember that for many years after the Aryan invasion, India was divided into small states. And remember, that's that group of people that came in from the north and settled all over India after the downfall of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Each state had its own ruler, and India did not have a central government. It was kind of like in Mesopotamia, where all those little individual city-states ended up kind of ruling themselves. But in 320 BC, a man called Chandragupta Maurya took control of the entire northern part of India and began the Mauryan Empire that lasted for 150 years. So we see his empire right down here. It is everything in the yellow there. Now, usually we know from studying other empires that you never trust your son or your grandson with your empire. But in this case, we have a little bit of a different situation. In 270 BC, so about 50 years after Chandragupta Maurya took control of that part of India, the northern part of India, his grandson Ashoka becomes king. Now, Ashoka was a great ruler. He was the strongest and richest ruler of the Mauryan Empire, and the empire thrived under his rule. That means that it did a great job. I want you to, by the word thrived, drew our little smiley face. So they're winning battles, they're taking over territory from other people to the south, and they're just having a grand old time. And he is growing his grandfather's empire, which is something we don't see often. Usually it's the other way around. But, and so there's Chandragupta, or his grandson rather, Ashoka. But something happens to change his life. He fights a gigantic battle and his side wins, but he realized as he looked across the battlefield that it didn't bring him happiness or satisfaction, and that he couldn't justify killing all of those people just to gain land. So he grew tired of that bloodshed and warfare. He decided to convert to Buddhism. So remember, in Buddhism, you do not fight. You practice that ahimsa, that non-violence, even if you were born into that caste that in Hinduism says you should be a soldier. And he vowed to not fight any more wars. He wanted to instead focus his attention on making his country a better place and bringing peace and happiness to his people. This is a huge shift. I want you to circle this, add some stars, maybe draw an arrow. You can see Ms. Tajik already put some stars there, but I should see this really indicated. This is a huge deal. So if he's not going to wage wars and make his empire bigger through war, what is he going to do? So after he became a Buddhist, Ashoka made it a goal of his to improve the life of his people. Above the box that says accomplishments of the Mauryan Empire, let's write his name, Ashoka, A-S-O-K-A, okay? So one of the things that was important for him was to improve his people's lives by making it easier to travel. So he built roads, safe, wide, clear roads where no bandits could hide, all around his empire. All along the road, he also opened free wells to get fresh water, hospitals in case someone was injured, and rest houses. Imagine traveling all over the United States and not having to pay for a hotel. So Ashoka made it so that people could move and spread their goods and ideas um, all across his empire. He thought that was really important for people to be able to do and be safe. He also spread his ideas of Buddhism with missionaries, or people who take ideas from place to place. So notice Buddhism started here in Northeast India, and under Ashoka, he sent missionaries out all through into other parts of India, down into Malaysia, and over into China, Tibet, Korea, and Japan. Today, all of these countries have major Buddhist populations because Ashoka made it a point to spread those ideas. And as he spread those ideas of Buddhism, then of course those missionaries brought back all sorts of goods and ideas from that other place, or rather from the other places. This is a term we've learned before, and I want you to write it in. Cultural diffusion. We are spreading those goods and ideas. So put a star next to that spread of Buddhism because we need to know that Ashoka spread that religion all over Asia. Now, unfortunately, after Ashoka's rule, India starts to decline a little bit. That means they become less powerful. So we have other invaders and empires moving in and kind of taking little bits and pieces. And India kind of falls apart a little bit until about 320 AD. And I want you to write that that's 500 years later. We see another strong and powerful empire, the Gupta Empire, that reunites India. They bring it back together. So it's not as big as the Mauryan Empire. They don't come all the way down here and take over the Deccan Plateau, but they're still conquering back a good amount of land, okay? Now, one thing that they also do is that they bring India back to Hinduism. So today, India is a majority Hindu nation. Most people in India, but not all, practice Hinduism. While Ashoka was there, he had spread Buddhism quite far. But the Guptas reunite India and bring the old ways back to the subcontinent. And so now Hinduism is again India's major religion. They also create many beautiful Hindu temples. So here's an example of a Hindu temple, and you can see just the really beautiful, intricate architecture, everything from the spires all the way at the top to the platforms and the beautiful landscaping underneath, and they're even more beautiful when you go inside. So the Guptas really wanted to bring Hinduism back and make it powerful again, but they also ushered in a period of peace and prosperity for India that lasted another few hundred years. So during this time that the Gupta Empire is powerful, it's also sometimes called India's Golden Age, from about 300 to 500 AD or 300 to 500 CE, Common Era. Go ahead and write in Golden Age, and then I'm going to draw some little floofs around here to just make sure we know that it's a shining, beautiful, powerful time. So we've got lots of accomplishments that on our last page of our video notes, you should be filling out. So this is going to be that section right here that says Culture in Ancient India, and then these will be our last video notes. Make sure you keep tuned though so you can see some of Ms. Todrick being a little ridiculous bloopers. So let's look at some of these accomplishments. We already know about Sanskrit, that written language of ancient India. But some of these works of literature that we see during India's Golden Age that were all written in Sanskrit are not just holy books. We see novels, we see plays, we see epic stories about heroes that all teach moral lessons. They teach people the right way to do things. And they're just fun and entertaining. They're beautiful stories. We also see some amazing arts and architecture, everything from paintings like the one you see below to sculptures and buildings like those temples I just showed you. We see mathematics. I want you to put a star by mathematics here because they invented a couple things that we use today. You might even, be a little grumpy with them sometimes. They invented the concept of zero, kind of that middle of the number line where we could have negative numbers or positive numbers on either side, and zero as a placeholder for units of 10, 100,000, all of that. They also developed the numerals that we use today. In fact, they're called Hindu Arabic numerals. And so you can see them right here. You can see how they match up with the ones we use today. So that's another great example of cultural diffusion. That idea from one culture spreading and being used and changed just a little bit to another culture into something that everybody uses. We also saw some amazing astronomy, study of the stars. This picture right here, it looks kind of like a weird ladder. This is an astronomy platform made during India's golden age where astronomers, people who study the stars, could go up, could take measurements of the planets and the stars as they moved in the sky, and would have a beautiful, clear view of it. In ancient India, we also had lots of metalworking, so more of that iron tools and metallurgy that we could have to make some amazing tools, jewelry, anything you can think of. And we also had some really advanced medicine. We see all sorts of records from ancient India of people being able to perform very complex surgeries, even things like brain surgeries. So we have a hugely advanced culture in India. Remember, guys, when we're looking at the culture of India, it's a huge subcontinent, and we're spanning, again, thousands of years back from Harappa and Mohenjo-daro in 3000 BC to India's golden age in 300 to 500 AD. That's more than 3,500 years, and we're not even close to where we are today. India today has one of the largest populations in the world, and it's still a center of technology, culture, religion, and there's more than 1 billion people who live in India today. So by studying India, you're getting just a little bit closer to knowing more about the world around you, and honestly, a huge portion of people that share that world with you. Thanks so much for hanging tight and taking all these amazing notes, guys, and be sure to watch those bloopers. I'll see you soon. Have a great day. Love you. Make good choices. Bye. Hi guys, can you believe we're on our very last set of video notes for ancient India? I feel like it's gone so fast, this unit. You guys have done a fantastic job looking at all those big ideas that we talked about with Buddhism and Hinduism. And today we're going to take a look at some of the empires, so some of the people that kind of took these ideas and ran with them. So it's important because the Maurya and Gupta empires formed the first great Indian empires. Their cultures were the basis for the civilizations that followed. So make sure you're writing things in, make sure you're writing things down. I'm seeing writing a whole lot and I don't know why, so that's super fun and bleh. So let's take a look at our first empire that ends up uniting India. So we know that for centuries after that Aryan invasion, that group of nomads that came in from the north, India was divided into small states, and each state had its own ruler, and India did not have a central government. So we've got all these little city-states, all over the place. I hate PowerPoint sometimes.